Hello, everybody. My name's Martha Green, and I'm here tonight with Nancy Zimmerman and Rob Spalding, and we love Lucy.
Yes, we do. Hi,
Martha.
guys.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Hey,
Good.
this has been a great week.
Great.
Been a great week. Can't complain.
That's always good to hear, right?
Yeah.
So
It
good.
wouldn't do any good to complain, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Hey, what'd you guys think of episode 1? That was fun, right?
I thought it was great. We had a good time, and yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. We're going to come back and do episode 2, which is tonight.
Woo.
Great. Hey, Nancy, one of the questions we came up with last week was about the ratings, the Nielsen's.
Yes, and the ratings, she was put in behind Arthur Godfrey Talent Show. So that's where they plugged that show in, because at that time it was the top show.
Arthur Godfrey was the top show.
Arthur Godfrey was the top show. Whenever I think they went to season 5, I believe in 1955, it was in 1955 they went to 5th place, but the first place, or they went to 2nd place. What'd they go to, Rob?
Episode 5. Oh, season 5. They went to second place.
Season 5 they went to 2nd place. Where am I? There's too many 5s in there. But anyway, the top
Yeah.
the top rated show. Sorry, folks. This end of a long day. The top rated show was the $64,000 question.
This was in season 5.
In season 5, so
Gotcha.
they played second to the $64,000 question.
You know, game shows are really big, right? There was like a season there
And they're
in the
making-
50s, 60s, and 70s.
They're
big
making-
comeback.
They are making a big
We've
comeback.
got Match Game now. We've got Family Feud.
Family Feud. You know, we already do a show on Family
Oh
Feud.
my gosh.
Oh my
Can you
gosh.
imagine?
You want me to bring my family in? No, you do
No.
not.
I don't think I.
I've met your family, and
The Manson family. We put the fun in dysfunction.
that's right. That's right. Us being, what was it, Family Feud? Here we go.
Gee, that's a wonderful idea.
Oh, Lucy, if only you knew.
Oh, you know, I said I every once in a while I post on Facebook, because if the listeners have listened at all to me, they know I'm a Facebook fan. But you know, some days I have a Lucy day, and some days I have an Ethel day, and some days I don't need either one of them, because I'm both of them rolled into one.
That's right. I would think any day could be a Lucy day, considering the
Yeah.
roller coaster that Lucy took us on.
She did, you know, but the classic, we talked about how classic the humor is. I revolves around a lot of things, but mostly I think part of their humor was one couple or the other was capturing the essence of marriage. I think that's because I think that's what people actually relate to as much as the humor and the timing. I think they relate to some of the quirky things that can happen within a marriage, or any kind of any kind of partnership. Doesn't
Right.
necessarily need to be a marriage. In their case, it was.
Right. And how those two interacted within the couple, and then within the larger group
Right,
of
right.
friends.
Because they have, whenever Lucy and Desi and Fred and Ethel were getting along okay, you know, there was the coupleness of them. But then when they'd get aggravated, they okay, the two guys are here and the two women are here, and then
Exactly.
it had battle of the sexes.
So they would pair off either as couples or as genders against the other two, and honestly, they built every storyline around one of the two. Sure.
One or the other. One
Sure.
or the other.
Well, one of the things that we're doing tonight is we're going to talk about the episode 1 of I Love Lucy. The girls want to go out to a nightclub, and
That kind of fits
That's
in
men
with what
versus
I
women. Sure.
yeah.
right. So that was episode 1. I think it was the 3rd or 4th episode actually recorded, but it was the first one played.
Okay.
Again, it's the men versus women, and the plot line goes along like this: it's easy for me to say. The Ricardos and the Mertzes agree to celebrate the Mertzes' wedding anniversary together. The girls decide they want to go to the Copacabana for a night out at the club, and the men want to go to the prize fights. So,
Wow, what an anniversary.
so from that, they split up, and the men go the men's way, and the women's go the women's way.
Yeah,
So-
with some funny twists and turns along the way.
Well, what's interesting is they decided that the girls said they were going to get dates, and the men said they were going to, and the men kind of well, let's play the clip.
Brother, will Monday be a night? We'll go over to Charlie's and we'll get steaks this thick. And we'll have big slices of raw onions all over them. And there won't be any women around to tell us we can't eat them.
Do you suppose they really can get dates?
Well, who cares? Why don't you stop worrying about them?
I keep thinking that they'll go out to dinner somewhere and they'll have some champagne and then they'll go to the Copacabana and have more champagne and then they'll dance and have more champagne and who knows what will happen.
Yeah, with all that champagne, even Ethel might look good. What are we going to do, Rick?
So that's the setup, right?
And there's not enough champagne to make Fred look good.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You might have to go to a hard drug.
That's right. So how does that unfold? The guys want to go to the fights, but now they're worried that the girls are going to get dates.
Well, I don't think Fred's real worried. But Fred never worries about things like that. I think it's passed him by.
Right. So the guys, in retaliation, they call Jenny, who is a dancer who knows all the guys, to see if she can help the guys get dates as a retaliatory, in case the girls get
Right.
dates. And the girls find out. Right?
I'm thinking this is going to cost them.
Yeah.
This is the only way they're going to get dates.
So what happens? The women, Jenny calls the girls and says the guys are looking for dates, so they dress up as the dates that they're going to go then meet Ricky and Fred and Ricky.
They're going to meet him at the.
They're coming to the apartment.
Oh,
And
okay,
the women
that's
have-
right.
they've
That's
dressed,
right.
They've dressed up as these hillbilly women, I guess, lack of a better term, and they show up at the door. And let's play that.
I wonder what they'll be like.
Ginny said that they were just knockouts.
Huh?
Real dreams. Gorgeous, willowy figures. Sweet dispositions. I wonder why they want us to meet us here at the apartment.
Well, maybe they want to be with us alone.
Well, why?
No, don't fight it. Just be thankful our wives have got early dinner dates.
How do you do?
We'll be looking for a couple of fellas named Ricky and Fred. For you, they.
We be Simon Elmer. Goodbye.
Oh, boy, we see your dates.
This one is yours, friend.
Lucy with her teeth blacked out, carrying a jug of moonshine.
This one is yours too, friend.
Wait a minute now, there's a little mistake here, fella. I'm going to have that and right over there, and this one is yours, Ma.
Now look, girls, there must be some mistake here. We're waiting for some friends of Ginny Jones.
Well, that's us'n. I'm Yunchi, and this here's my Ma.
That's your mother?
It is? Oh, it is, yeah. I knew that.
Do something, Ricky.
Look, girls, it's very nice of you to come over, but an emergency just came up, and we have to change our plans.
Ah, look at him, Ma. He's shy. What's the matter, sonny boy?
No, it's not that I'm shy.
Come on,
Fred,
kiss me.
Wait a minute now.
Come on, kiss me.
Please now.
Kiss me right now.
Let's get acquainted. Please.
Oh, boy, Ma, this is fun.
And there she jumps on Ricky and kisses Ricky and dates from hell, it turns out. The mystery is they don't recognize their own wives in costume. Isn't that amazing?
How sad. How sad. What a sorry state of affairs.
It is, it's, oh well.
Well, back then, TV, all Clark Kent had to do was take off his glasses.
And he was
Oh,
Superman.
my God, I'd never seen that before.
True, there was a lot. There was a lot that was just kind of, you do this and this happens and this happens. So yeah, for them to pull that off was not unusual back then.
Right.
But how did it get resolved?
Well, obviously, they finally figured out it was their wives. So let me go to the last clip here.
So they had to teach them a lesson.
There's a yes.
Lucy,
So-
you're going to learn a lesson.
so the plot was, and this is 1951, by the way. So the plot was that they were going to have celebrate separately, and then one was going to get dates, and then the other was going to get dates. They end up with the dates from hell, and then this is the moment where Ricky recognizes.
Let's get out of here while we got a chance.
Wait a minute.
for what?
Come back here. Did you notice that she knew exactly where the cigarettes were and the matches too?
Yeah, that was kind of funny, wasn't it?
You know who those two creeps are in there? That's Lucy and Ethel.
Oh, no. I'd know my own wife, wouldn't I?
I bet you, Fred.
No. My gosh, it is Ethel. What do they think they're getting away with?
Never mind. Look. Never mind. Just forget it. I got a wonderful idea to get even with
Yeah,
them.
what?
I tell you what we'll do. We'll turn the tables on them, see? As soon as we get back in there, we'll give them that same wolf treatment they've been giving us.
Ricky, you're a genius.
Let's go.
Come on.
Oh, there you are, Ricky boy. I've been waiting to pitch a little woo with you hog center style.
Okay.
Pitch a little woo.
Pitch a little woo.
Latin style?
Yeah.
Now, take it easy. Now, wait just a... Hey, just a minute.
Come here.
Getting out of here. I'm coming with you. You see this smart Alex trying to unbutton my high-top shoes?
Call us again, Lucy.
Nice to have met you, Ethel.
Why, Fred Murray. You knew it all the time.
Well, not all the time.
Yeah.
Pretty convincing.
Wait a minute, what are we laughing at? You two bums were going out with other women.
Now, listen. I swear we only get in days to go to the Copa just to keep an eye on you girls.
Is that the truth?
On my honor, Passion Flower.
What do you think?
Now, look, just to convince you that we're on the level, you two girls go and change your clothes, and we'll all go out and celebrate the Merck's anniversary.
Right.
Doesn't it occur to you that if the guys had just gone along with the gals to begin with, but then we wouldn't have had a half hour of fun, would we? But
that's true.
seriously.
And I got to think that later, I think maybe things were a little spicier for Fred and Ethel after that.
I think based on the whole other 20 minutes of the episode, it would indicate that wasn't be the case, but maybe it ended well.
What's funny though, considering this was their 10th anniversary they were celebrating, is that correct?
Yes.
so-
I think so, yeah.
Well, so the 10th anniversary, that would have put Fred and Ethel pretty old for their 10th anniversary.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That just now dawned on me.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
Late bloomers.
Or they lived together all those years previously.
This is 1951. I don't
That's
think
right.
that was not.
They were sleeping in separate beds.
Well, I was going to say
Yeah.
considering that they were a married couple, but that they couldn't sleep in the same beds.
That's an interesting point. Who set the standards on
Hays
there?
Code, or in Hollywood
Right.
about
Right. So it was they could be on the same bed, but they had to have 1 foot on
one
the
foot on the floor.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we'll jump a little bit ahead, but if you remember the show I Dream of Jeannie, and I don't know what year,
Yeah.
they could not show her navel that
Her belly
that,
button. She
That
had to have her-
the navel had to be covered,
And that was
and that was in the 80s. Was that in the 80s?
Oh, that was
70s?
the mid '60s.
mid
Was
mid
it-
to late
was it?
60s.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I lose track of time.
But then
Yeah.
a few years later, there's Laugh-In. And
Oh.
Laugh-In has Goldie Hawn and Judy Carn and all those girls in the bikinis with the body paint.
And yeah, well, but Laugh-In was pretty controversial.
I know, I loved
mean,
it.
it was just There were a lot of people that came out of Laugh-In really went on to
Bigger and better.
yeah.
They really did. Well, that was, I mean,
Rowan and Martin.
right. But that was kind of cutting edge television, right?
Yes, it
that
was.
That was
Yeah.
really new, because right after that, if you think about it, that there was some groundbreaking for them. But then, and we were looking at this, they were in that mid '60s. They were the top rated show, Rowan and Martin, those 2 years.
Yes, we did look that.
And then there was like something like Gunsmoke or something, and then it was like All in the Family.
Well,
did
that's when
about a
Norman
5-year
Lear brought
Okay.
in, and you watch some of that today, and you think, my God, you couldn't get by with that on
Yeah.
TV.
Oh.
And that was early '70s.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they wrestled with, you name it. I mean, really, they wrestled with,
Because there was Maude, and there was the Jeffersons,
right,
and again, they are all cutting edge, topical.
Yeah.
right.
They took the approach. Well, and it was before quote political correctness unquote.
Yeah.
It was when they were able to use humor and not have a boundary with the humor as to especially with race. Especially with race.
That's
Sammy Davis Jr. on
That's
there.
that's a great point. When you look at the early '50s television with I Love Lucy and the Honeymooners, R. Miss Brooks, Jack Benny, and a lot of those that carried over, they didn't tackle anything, I mean, controversial. It was all
No.
lighthearted and fun. And then it was that, what would you say, late '60s, early '70s before they really started wrestling with
Well, it
with
was that,
women's rights
I
and
think
racism.
after the civil rights
Yeah,
legislation passed in
Yeah.
'64. So
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And that's when it all became a little more
well,
edgy.
and that's when if those first shows that you named, there were no black characters in those shows either.
but
So-
Laugh-In did.
But Laugh-In,
Laugh-In did
Yeah.
have several black characters.
that's true.
But then you look at
Pigmeat Markham was on there. Johnny Brown. I'm trying to think of who the little black gal was. Real pretty she was one of the dancers.
Yeah. and I don't know.
Oh, that's right. And then was it, because right after, at that same time period, was it Diane Carroll?
Diane Carroll was on Julia.
She's a
Yes,
nurse,
yes.
right?
Julia.
Okay.
And Mannix had Peggy, a black secretary.
Yeah. But you start,
forgot about that. That's
you
true.
you started seeing the characterizations. They were bringing the black characters in. So yeah.
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke
Which
had
made,
the black couple. They thought they had the wrong baby.
Oh,
And it was, what's his name?
they looked like a black Ken and Barbie, didn't they?
They did, Well, it was it Greg Morris from Mission Impossible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And who didn't want to be Link? Right, was that
He
Link?
didn't want to be
yeah.
Link?
I mean, who
No,
was that?
Clarence Williams III was Link.
That's it. Okay,
Lincoln
that's right.
Hayes.
That's right. And then, here we go.
Lucy, what's going on around here?
When we saw those African Americans on television. That's awesome.
But
You're right. It absolutely
Yeah.
coincided with the civil rights
Civil
movement.
rights.
But you look at all that the way that people now, whenever a black actor gets an Academy Award or an Emmy or something, and everybody is going, "Oh, this is great," and here again we'll get a little controversial here, from a place of white privilege, we think we don't quite understand, but for the chances that blacks had. Really, it only started in the mid '60s that they got to come up and catch up with white actors.
Hattie McDaniel was not allowed to go to the Oscars for the Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
That is a great point. I remember that because
And-
she got an Oscar.
Yeah, she did.
supporting. Yeah.
Yes.
And you just think, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. That really is that's
so
remarkable.
so many things like that just we don't know about. And I remember seeing a clip that Ella Fitzgerald was not able to go to a nightclub in, I believe, New York until Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
And Marilyn Monroe got her, and Marilyn Monroe and Ella Fitzgerald were sitting on the front row in the nightclub. And Sammy Davis Jr. would not have been able to perform, and he could perform, but he could not have gotten into the hotels had he not been a member of the Rat Pack.
Could not stay at the hotel, could not eat in the dining room.
Right.
Yep.
Had he not been with
Frank Sinatra and Dean
Yeah.
Martin and
So
Joey Bishop and Peter Lawford. Yeah.
So when it comes to blazing new trails, it's who you know, and if you know the chairman, you can.
Yeah. But I
Opens
don't, and I don't
doors,
think
right?
I don't think it was easily done, even knowing him.
Right.
You know.
Well, we're going to get way off on a rabbit trail here, but when you read a lot of historical information about Sinatra and his life story, and there's a great book out called Why Sinatra Matters, and what you discover is that as an Italian who faced many of the same prejudices, maybe not as extreme, but many of the same prejudices, he had a real heart for those things. And so, so Sammy sliding in with a bunch of Italians, I guess, made sense.
Yeah.
People who understood his plight and who were willing to advocate for him, which
Right.
is very cool.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is a far
So-
jump from Lucy. But
Well, then let's go back to this with Lucy. And this is the only problem I really have with Lucy is because, true to the time, there was that subjugation of women that always reared its ugly head.
Right.
No,
But-
Lucy, you can't be in the show. And it was when she would call, oh, yes, sir, no, sir, oh, I'll have your dinner done, sir, kind of that.
yeah, but that was done with so much sarcasm. Whenever
Right.
she'd get
Was
into that.
it? Oh, really? Was
I'll need to watch these with a new set of eyes.
Well, it wasn't that way the first time through, I'm sure, because that was we're coming off of. Have you ever read some of the ways that women should treat their husbands that were written
Oh,
in
yeah.
Good Housekeeping back in the
Oh, yeah.
50s?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it is
put on your
hilarious.
prettiest dress and
Yes.
be fresh
Right.
and clean.
Yes.
And be ready with a martini because he's already had a tough day and he doesn't need you to make it tougher.
I know.
I said he'd be wearing that drink.
Yeah, exactly. Interestingly enough, next week we're going to cover the episode "Be a Pal," which goes through that thing: how to be a pal to your husband, wear a nice dress, how to make your husband. Yeah,
Well, I shall read up.
yes, yeah,
Read up and chuckle.
that's right. Well, this is what Lucy would say about that.
Gee, that's a wonderful idea.
That is awesome. Well, speaking of next week, it'll be 7 days from now when we record this
It
again.
will be.
It will
All
be.
right.
But tonight, hey, the episode we're going to do My Favorite Husband again. And this episode is called Literary Club Speaker Comes to Dinner. And it's really kind of the first episode where they kind of start to really come together. There was a pilot that we played last week. This week we'll play episode 1. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I do have a question about that because it was taken from a book. My Favorite Husband was taken from a book called Mr. and Mrs. Cugat or something.
Something like that's it.
I'm not sure that Cugat was ever used in any of the actual shows. I'm thinking that Cugat was used as the pilot show for the radio, but I think they very quickly went to Cooper, didn't they?
They did. Yes, they
very
did. But I can't
quickly.
remember how many episodes. But Cugat was in the premiere episode, and because it was from a book.
Yeah, and the title in the book was their names were Cugat, so I did read that because I've got this big, thick "I Love Lucy" book.
There you
and
go.
I've read like about the first 20 pages, and it gives some of the history of the show and how it got on, and it mentions a lot about My Favorite Husband.
Right,
I love
it
those
was-
books, and we have so many good ones at the library. Though I read the one on Vivian Vance, and
I did too. The other side of
the other
Vivian
side
Vance
of
or something.
yes,
Isn't that fascinating?
What is it? The other side of what?
Vivian Vance.
Oh, the other side of Vivian Vance.
yeah.
Or was it called the other side of Ethel?
Or maybe that was
Something
it, but-
like that. Yeah, that was a great
I
book.
will
though.
But
have-
it's been a few years, but
Yeah.
I love those because you get all that. And there was another one with Sally Rogers, who played Sally Rogers on Dick Van
Oh,
Dyke. Rosemarie.
Yeah.
Man, she had it tough.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that,
Yeah.
wow,
She and Rosemary Clooney were really good friends.
were they?
Best of friends.
Well,
Who was?
Rosemary Clooney
And
Rosemary.
really,
Mm-hmm.
as a child, their names ran together for me, so they were pretty much the same person. One could sing and one couldn't, though. The My Favorite Husband came from a series of books by Isabella Scott Rorick, and she was born in 1900 even, and wrote 10 books about the Cougats, and that was the basis of My Favorite Husband.
Now, Rob, did you actually read those books, or are you just fudging on this oral book report?
I am. I have lots of notes. You can hear paper shuffling in the background.
Just checking.
So yeah. So tonight we're gonna play an episode. The actual first episode. The last one we played, as I said, was a pilot. We're gonna play episode 1 tonight. The Literary Club Speaker Comes to Dinner. It is from July 23rd of 1948 with Lucille Ball and Richard Denning, and that's what's coming up next.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
Were she and Desi already married by then, or was that pre-marriage?
No, they were already they'd been married about 10 years before the show started.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And it's interesting.
They wanted Richard Denning to be the husband on the I Love Lucy show, or the show as they took it to television, and she said no. Because I think at that time their marriage was already kind of on some rocky ground, because she was in movies and he was touring with the band, and it was
those musicians.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, she wanted them to do something together so she could keep an eye on him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure that had something
Those
to
musicians.
do with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
Excellent. We're going to dive into a lot of that. Boy, there's a lot of stuff, just the geopolitics of the time, but also their relationship and all that. But we'll save that for another week.
Okay, we've got a few weeks coming up.
All right.
Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, we'll see you.
All righty.
Have a good week.
I love Lucy and she loves me. We're as happy as two can be. Sometimes we quarrel, but then how we love making up again. Lucy kisses like no one can. She's my missus and I'm her man. And life is heaven, you'll see. 'Cause I love Lucy, yes, I love Lucy, and Lucy loves me. Everybody!
We present My Favorite Husband, a new series based on Isabel Scott Rorick's gay, sophisticated Mr. and Mrs. Cougat, starring Lucille Ball with Richard Denning. 10 years ago, the town's most eligible bachelor, George Cougat, married socially prominent Elizabeth Elliot. The lavish wedding kept the society columns all over the country in copy for weeks. The New Yorker said,
"The bride and groom were dressed to the nth degree of smartness. Best man was a polo pony."
The Hearst papers said,
"The bride and groom were dressed handsomely in attracted comment from guest Douglas MacArthur."
and the Reader's Digest said,
"The bride and groom were dressed."
Well, after the honeymoon, George sold his polo pony, bought a stylish suburban home, took the first job that came along, 5th vice president of a bank. And now the Cougats are just George and Liz, two people who live together and like it. George says,
"When I married Liz, she didn't know a thing about keeping house. She couldn't cook, she couldn't sew, she couldn't clean. But later she overcame this lack of domesticity in a most ingenious manner."
Liz says,
"I got a maid."
And now, let's take a peek at the Cougats. It's early morning, and there's husband George at the breakfast table. But where's wife, Liz? Oh, there she is, upstairs in the bedroom with Katie, the maid. Well, this is certainly unusual. Liz is getting into a formal evening gown. Let me check again. It's only 5 minutes after 9. Well, surely there's a reason for wearing an evening gown at this early hour.
Oh, just a little more, Katie. Can you get the zipper up now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
The zipper's up.
oh, how does it look, Katie? Would you consider it too slinky?
Well, there's hardly enough of it to tell. If you'll pardon me, Mrs. Cougat, I've seen more cloth on a Roquefort cheese.
It isn't as skimpy as all that. Now, where's my corsage?
Oh, here it is, ma'am.
I'll just pin it on here. No, maybe here. Oh,
Well, what's wrong, Mrs. Cougat?
there's no place to pin it.
I'll get you a gown that has a little more to it, Mrs. Cougat. But then,
Then what, Kitty?
you are having your portrait painted today, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, then maybe you'd better wear the gown you have on.
Why?
Well, as long as you're paying for a portrait, you might as well have as much of you in the picture as possible.
No, Katie, we might move to Boston someday, and I wouldn't want my portrait banned.
Oh, here's a more sensible gown, ma'am. Have you told Mr. Cougat about the painter coming today?
Not yet, Katie. I'll tell him at breakfast. Now hurry and get me out of this tight thing. I feel like a 10-inch weenie in a 5-inch roll. Good morning, George, darling.
Good morning, Liz. You're looking very...
George, what's wrong?
That evening gown.
Well, you've seen me wearing an evening gown before.
Well, I've seen you wearing galoshes, too, but not at breakfast.
Of course not. It never rains under the table. Darling, the reason I'm wearing this gown is because I'm going to have my portrait painted. The artist is coming this morning.
Having your portrait painted?
Mm-hmm.
What in the world for?
Well, Alice Sturm had herself sketched, so...
Alice Sturm, I might have known. The old story of keeping up with the Joneses.
It's nothing like that, George. This is entirely different. This is keeping up with the Sturmses.
Darling, when Alice Sturm gave a party for an opera star, we had to give one for the Hall Johnson Choir. When Alice goes to Catalina, we have to go to Hawaii. Believe me, the day Alice Sturm has quintuplets, I want to be in Mexico.
You do? Well, what about me?
And just where is this masterpiece going to be painted?
Right here, and by a very good artist, too. His name is Damon Welch. He'll be here in a little while.
I get a kick out of those artist characters. I can hardly wait to see him. He'll probably be wearing a pink beret and have a rose clinched between his teeth. Long artistic fingers hanging down and sticking in the tops of his shoes.
No. I heard Damon Welch is different from other artists, George. They say he's very big and strong and muscular, like, who's that rugged, tall actor in the movies? You know, the one with the big arms and broad shoulders?
Marjorie Main.
No, Victor Mature.
Oh, well, don't be silly, Liz. Artists are all the same. They wear berets, live in attics, and smell of spiders.
Hello, George, Liz.
Oh, it's Corey. Come on up, Corey.
Cartwright here, Bachelor Deluxe, Damsel Delight, the kind of man you'd like to marry your sister.
If you hated your sister.
How are you this morning, party boy?
No party last night, George, but did I meet a beautiful creature? She had a smile like Lana Turner, a voice like Dinah Shore, and she kissed like Paulette Goddard.
What do you do, date her or buy tickets to her?
Don't speak lightly of this woman, Liz, for I think that at last Corey Cartwright is in love.
You, Corey?
Yes, George. I feel that this is the real thing. I think I shall marry this girl.
Corey, that's wonderful. What's her name? Where does she live?
Darn, I knew I forgot something. Hey, Liz, I just noticed you're wearing an evening gown.
Yes, do you like it?
It's nice, but isn't this awfully late to be getting home?
Oh.
Liz is having her portrait painted, Corey. Some artist named Damon Welch is coming over this morning.
Damon Welch?
You've heard of him, Corey?
Heard of him? That's all Alice Sturm talks about since he sketched her. I hear he has big blue eyes, curly hair, muscles galore, a tan complexion, and stands about 12 feet tall.
Really now, Corey, 12 feet tall.
Maybe it is a slight exaggeration, but I understand that before he painted portraits, he used to paint rooftops. Without a ladder.
Well, anybody could do that if they had a long brush.
Or a short house.
Well, what do I care what he's like? Excuse me, I have to make a phone call.
Who are you calling this early, darling?
The time operator. My watch has been acting up again.
Well, maybe Corey has the right time.
No, I left my watch home on my other wrist.
At the tone, the time will be 9:42 1/4.
9:42. Have to be getting down to the bank.
Right with you, George. I have a luncheon date with a girl who was a gorgeous blonde yesterday, and I'm anxious to find out what she is today.
Kiss me goodbye, George. Your kisses give me strength for the day.
When Corey Cartwright kisses them, they stay charged up for a month.
Bye, darling.
Bye-bye, Liz.
Bye.
Are you really going to the bank today, George, or are you just faking?
Huh? What are you talking about?
With that Damon Welch coming to your house today, I figured maybe you're going to sneak out and hide in the garage.
Oh, I'd forgotten all about it. Doesn't worry me in the least.
It would if you heard what Howie Sturm calls that artist.
Why, what does he call him?
A weasel with an easel.
Come on, get in the car, Corey.
Hey, don't start the motor yet, George. The artist just pulled up in your driveway. Maybe we can get a look at him.
Good. I'm still betting he has a rose between his teeth.
He's getting out of his car. Holy mackerel, George. He looks like the Empire State Building with a turtleneck sweater.
Oh, he's not so much. I bet he pads that sweater with cotton.
If he does, he must have the whole plantation and Uncle Tom's cabin under there. Look at those shoulders, George, and that chest.
Corey, it doesn't take much to have broad shoulders and a big chest. All you need are muscles. Let's go.
Did you see that thick neck, George? Those pretty blue eyes?
Well, so what? My neck isn't as thick, maybe, but I have a nice neck. And look at my Adam's apple, Corey. Oh, that guy didn't have anywhere near the Adam's apple I have.
Oh, if there's anything that'll keep a home together, it's a big Adam's apple.
And as far as his blue eyes are concerned, my eyes are blue, too. Look at my eyes, Corey. See the pretty blue?
It's kind of hard to see the blue right now, George. Your face is so green.
All right, woman, face to the left. I cannot paint your portrait unless you cooperate.
Mr. Welch, I've told you a dozen times my name is Elizabeth Cougar, not woman.
Very well, Mrs. Cougar. Now be quiet, woman.
Well, one consolation, at least you know what I am.
Your dress gives you away. I don't like your nose. I shall not paint it that way.
But I like my nose. It's a good nose. Don't change it. I've had it so long now, it seems like almost a part of me.
Be still, woman.
You're very rough, Mr. Welch.
Woman, you're looking at a man who's painted the forests of Oregon and at the same time worked as a lumberjack. Sawing, climbing, cutting, and chopping. One day, the man next to me was crushed by a falling redwood. I've seen many rough things. This is a man's world. That's why I'm rough.
Did it kill him, the man the tree fell on?
To coin a quaint old phrase, he was a real gone lumberjack.
You know, Mr. Welch, you and my husband have a lot in common. He lives a rugged life, too.
What does your husband do?
He's a banker.
Oh, that is rugged.
It's plenty rugged. He goes to work every morning at 10 and doesn't get home until after 3.
Just what's rugged about that?
He has an uncomfortable office.
Liz, are you here?
Oh, you're home early, darling.
Hi, honey. How's the portrait coming? All finished, huh?
Oh, no, Damon will be back tomorrow.
Damon? You call him Damon?
Yes, now. He was terribly cold at first, but he warmed up.
How warm did he get?
Oh, George, I've just got to tell you all about him. You wouldn't believe that just an artist could have lived so much.
Too bad he lived so long.
What'd you say, dear?
I said, too bad he had to run along.
You know, men certainly are misleading. Take Damon, for instance. There he is, an artist, but he's worked in the Oregon forest, and believe it or not, he's chopped down giant redwood trees.
Well, I cut down the tree in the yard, the one that made the lawn so unsightly.
That wasn't a tree, dear. That was a laundry pole.
Well, it was a tree once.
Did you notice Damon when you were leaving this morning? He came in right after you'd left with Corey.
Yes, I think I did. He was struggling to get his car door open. Didn't seem to have much strength. A tall, unhealthy-looking chap, as I recall. A padded sweater.
Damon? Oh, George, I don't think so. He's huge with big muscles and a terrific tan.
Yes, Liz, but I'm sure that under that tan there's a naturally pale face.
George, what are you looking for?
Oh, nothing. Oh, hey, look at this. My old photograph album. Look here. This picture of me at the beach. You notice the muscles?
Oh, yes. That was the day you and Jimmy Paterno and Howie Sturm and the whole gang made the human pyramid.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of strength to support all those men.
Yes, it does. Look at my muscles.
Oh, there you are, right on top.
Oh, it takes a lot of strength to stay on top. There was quite a breeze that day.
Here's the picture I like. You and me in a rowboat at Simmons Park. Look, your sleeves are rolled up. Say, your arms were pretty big.
Of course. Of course.
I can't remember why I was rowing.
Well, I was saving my strength for the potato race. Are you sure you love me, Liz?
Oh, silly. Of course I love you. Why shouldn't I love you? Kiss me.
Feel those strong arms around you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm plenty strong, Liz. Way back in kindergarten, I used to beat up all the little kids.
I'll just bet you still could. Kiss me again, sweetheart.
Liz, are you positive you love me? I'm the only one, nobody else?
Oh, don't talk such nonsense. Just hug me tighter. Make believe I'm a tube of toothpaste and pop my cap off.
Oh, that's swell. I feel great now.
Oh, George, you know, I was thinking today, you don't have any hobbies. I believe I know of an interesting one for you.
No hobbies? I have my bird collection. 6 starlings and a dicky bird. What did you have in mind?
Why don't you take up painting as a hobby?
Painting? Oh, Liz, I'm going to bed.
Going to bed? Don't you want your dinner?
I won't need any dinner. I'll just go upstairs, pull the covers over my head, and eat my heart out.
You are listening to My Favorite Husband, starring Lucille Ball with Richard Denning. This is the story of my favorite husband, George Cugat, and his favorite wife, Liz, who, like most married couples, alternate in making each other first happy and then miserable. Well, at the moment, Liz is in the middle of having her portrait painted by the handsome and virile artist Damon Welch. This makes Liz quite happy, and George quite miserable. Now George thinks this is quite wrong, and chances are he's quite right. And so he's decided it's quite time he did something about it. It's the next morning. Quite.
George, darling, you aren't eating your breakfast.
Oh, I'm not very hungry, Liz. Didn't sleep last night. I'm going to stay home today.
Stay home? George, are you ill?
Yeah, that's it. I'm sick. Awfully sick.
What's wrong?
Oh, I don't know, Liz. Maybe it's painter's colic.
Painter's colic?
Well, that is, the inside of my mouth feels like a brush.
I'd better call Dr. Buell.
What do I want with a doctor?
Well, you just said you were sick.
Oh, yeah. Call a doctor.
Oh, it's Damon. Katie!
I saw him coming, Mrs. Cougar. Oh, good morning, Mr. Wells.
Good morning, woman. Step aside and let genius enter.
I wish he'd slammed the door on his genius.
Good morning, woman.
Good morning, Damon. This is my husband, George.
You may just call me Man.
George isn't feeling well, Damon. I'm going to call the doctor.
What's wrong with him? He looks well enough. Trouble with you, Cougar, is that soft, decadent living has finally caught up with you. You should get out of doors, do some exercises. Run the mile, do some chin-ups, push-ups, chop some wood, mow the lawn, pull some weights.
Tote that barge, lift that bale.
Oh. Liz, call the doctor now. I'm worn out.
All right, George. Let me have a look down your throat.
Certainly, Dr. Buell.
Doc down there. Don't swallow, George. This is my best flashlight. There's nothing wrong there. Exactly what seems to be the trouble, George?
Well, Doctor, I feel kind of things. First, it starts, then it stops, then it goes again, then it backs up, and then it twists completely around. What does it sound like to you?
A woman driver. Come on now, George. Tell me, what's wrong?
Well, Doctor, you see, Liz is having her portrait painted by some artist who has muscles so big they get up and walk around, and I just...
Oh, I believe I can diagnose your case now, George. Acute jealousy-itis.
Is that anything like borderline anemia?
Jealousy-itis is serious only if it isn't checked early. Fortunately, I believe I have with me the very thing you need to snap you out of it. Miss McCarthy, I just happen to have my nurse with me.
Nurse? I don't need a nurse.
Yes, Doctor?
Marianne, this is Mr. Cougat, our newest patient.
I tell you, I don't need it. Oh, how do you do? Forgive me for not standing up in bed, but I only have on the pajama tops.
The patient's ill enough to require a nurse, Doctor?
Well, he said he wasn't. What about it, George?
Oh, I ain't long for this world.
Sit still, woman. I cannot paint your portrait unless you relax. I don't make moving pictures, you know.
Well, when are you going to paint in my hair? You still have me bald-headed. I don't like myself bald-headed. I look like my mother was frightened by Guy Kibbe.
I'll paint in your hair when I see fit, woman, and not a second sooner. Until that time, you'll remain an egghead and like it.
Damon, do you ever smile?
I laugh sometimes. My sense of humor is a bit unusual, however, not on the beaten path.
Well, what's funny to you?
Well, I laughed heartily when my friend Chadwick fell from the roof of the school in Paris.
Did Chadwick see the humor in it?
Oh, he screamed. Yes, I'll never forget it. Fractured half the bones in his body.
Yes, he must have been all broken up.
Miss McCarthy, did you hear that? My wife and the painter were laughing down there in the study. What could they have been laughing at?
Do you have a steamboat in the house, Mr. Cougar?
Steamboat? Well, of course not.
Well, then they couldn't be laughing at Fulton.
Oh, I'm serious, Miss McCarthy. I don't like them to be laughing. I'm going downstairs. Hello?
Hello, darling. What are you doing out of bed?
I heard some laughing. What was all the laughing about?
Oh, Damon was telling jokes.
Oh, how nice. Mind if I stay a while?
I know one person who objects. I cannot paint with an audience.
What a horrible painting.
George.
No, let him criticize. All genius must be criticized. But I still do not want him around. Out. Take your linted bathrobe with you.
Well, as long as you're busy, I'll go back upstairs.
Goodbye, darling.
Well, goodbye.
Yes, goodbye. Nice trip. Be sure and write us.
Oh, Damon, you know something? I think my husband came downstairs because he's jealous.
Jealous? Jealousy is stupidity. Yes, I guess he could be jealous.
Well, I'm glad he's jealous. Oh, it makes me feel that I'm wanted.
You are. I want you to sit still. You never get jealous of Mr. Cougat, do you? I mean, the fact that he's upstairs right now with that attractive nurse. That doesn't faze you in the least.
Of course not. Good old faithful George. What was that?
What?
Damon, that was George and that nurse.
Oh, so? You aren't worried about good old faithful George, are you?
Certainly not. I'll be right back.
Where are you going?
I got to see a man about a nurse. Hello. May I come in?
Yes, Mrs. Cougat, but you mustn't stay long. I have a naughty boy on my hands, and I don't want him to get excited.
That's why I came up. How are you, George?
Oh, it's awful. I just had a relapse. I accidentally plugged my electric heating pad into the radio, and H.V. Kaltenborn got in bed with me.
He's delirious.
Yes. You better go, Mrs. Cougat.
Yes, I'll, goodbye, George. Miss McCarthy, wouldn't you like to come downstairs and boil a few thermometers or something?
I'll be right here with Mr. Cougat.
Well, bye, George.
He's gone now, Mr. Cougat. Why were you playing sick?
Because I wanted sympathy. Lots of sympathy. You know something, McCarthy? I think Liz came up only because she was jealous. She must have heard us laughing. You know what that means?
My capacity of a registered nurse, I'd say she has clean ears.
It means she loves me and worries about me. She's jealous.
Then you need have no further worry over the painter.
None whatever. He'll be laughing again soon, but I won't worry about it. I wonder why they aren't laughing. McCarthy, they're not laughing.
Doesn't that please you, Mr. Cougat?
No, they should be laughing.
Where do you think you're going?
I'm going down there and find out why they're so darn quiet. Where is he? I'll break him in half.
He's gone, George.
Gone? He's not here anymore?
I had to get rid of him, darling.
Why did you have to get rid of him?
Because I knew that if he left, you'd stop playing sick, and then Miss McCarthy could get the heck out of here.
Oh. Were you a little jealous of Miss McCarthy?
Of course not, but I know you were jealous of Damon.
That's ridiculous.
George.
Yes, Liz.
Who do we think we're kidding?
So he left, huh, George?
Yes, Corey. He left.
And George was really very nice to him.
How lucky you were, George. Suppose, instead of going quietly, the man with the big muscles had gotten tough with you.
Oh, Corey, you're just trying to stir me up.
No, seriously. What would you have done if the painter had wanted to fight? Oh, I'm sorry, George. I shouldn't embarrass you this way in front of Liz.
If Damon had wanted to fight, George would have fought, wouldn't you, darling? Wouldn't you, George?
Why, certainly. If I had his phone number, I'd call him up right now and tell him a thing or two.
Oh, I have his phone number, dear. Here.
Oh, thanks.
When Damon answers the phone, I'll catch you, George.
Hello, Damon. This is George Cougat. I've changed my mind about being nice to you. If you want to fight, just come over here whenever you feel like getting knocked for a loop. You got anything to say to that?
At the tone, the time will be 9:27 1/4.
Well.
George Cougat, kiss me. Kiss me this very instant.
Why right now?
Because you've got your dander up, and you're just dandy with your dander up.
In just a moment, Lucille Ball and Richard Denning will be back with us. Here's a friendly suggestion that may mean a lot to your own happiness.
Why don't you call your family together one evening soon and say, is there anything else any of us can do in cooperation with others for the good of our community? You may find that somebody will come forward with the news of a community project that you haven't heard of. Maybe it has to do with Scouts or 4-H clubs or Red Cross. Well, there'll be an opportunity for service, something you'll like to grab hold of. For you know that what you're doing is more than helping make your life and your families and your neighbors better. By positive action toward improving the place where you live, you help preserve something we prize highly. That's freedom. You show that you agree with the statement that freedom is everybody's job.
George, are you asleep?
No, darling. I'm not asleep.
Do you love me, baby?
Yes, I love you.
How much?
Lots.
Well, in terms of pounds, how much do you love me? 3 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds?
12 tons.
I love you 100 tons.
You have a bigger truck.
George, no matter what happens, will you still love me, even when I'm old?
I'll still love you when you're old.
Will you take me out?
Yes, dear. I'll wheel you around the block every day.
George, something strange happened to Katie tonight.
Really? What was that?
Well, tonight around 9:27, Katie picked up the phone extension in the kitchen and heard a man shouting at the time operator. Good night, George.
My Favorite Husband has been presented through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
And that was The Portrait Artist from August 6, 1948, and My Favorite Husband. Now, in the setup, we told you we were going to play The Literary Club Speaker Comes to Dinner, but the quality of that just wasn't up to par for us, so we went with The Portrait Artist. And this is also episode 2 of We Love Lucy. So on behalf of Nancy Zimmerman and Martha Baker Green, this is Rob Spaulding saying thanks for listening, and until next time, God bless.